Hey everyone, welcome back to our virtual Brain Smart start for today. As you know, we're doing this online WOW experience now for you guys to be able to have your everyday WOW classes and activities, but at the same time be in the comfort of your own home. So let's just begin, okay? So, WOW kids, get ready for this song. Ready? So we're all in this together. We are WOW, you and me, united and free. We are all in this together. We are WOW, you and me, united and free. We are all in this together. We are WOW. Good job, guys. Alrighty, so let's get into our stretching for today, okay? So we're going to do something similar to what we have been doing for the other 2 days, okay? So you're going to take your right arm and you're going to throw it over your left side like this, and you're going to hold for 10 seconds. Ready? And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Now the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. All right, now we're going to bring this arm back like this, and you're going to push down, not too hard so you don't hurt yourself. Okay, ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, good job. Move it out. Now the other one. And ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Again, wiggle it out. All right, let's do the other arm stretches first now so we don't have to go back to them later. Okay, ready? So remember, we tried the other day when you want to stretch this part of the arm. You take your fingers like this on your other hand and you pull back, not too hard. Okay, and ready? Let's count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. Wiggle it out. Okay, and then we're going to do the top half, right? To stretch this part, your forearm. You're going to go and count to 10. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Okay, so let's do the other arm. Ready? You're going to take it like this, stretch back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Okay, one more for this arm. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, very good, guys. All right, so now let's stretch our necks. Okay, ready? So we're going to do to the left side first. You're going to pull down a little bit, not too hard. Okay, ready? I'm going to give you a sec. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. Other side. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very, very good. Okay, again, we're going to go backwards like this. Not too hard. You can push up on your chin or down on your forehead. Either one is fine. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Now down. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right, and now we're going to do with turns like this, 5 times each side. Okay, so we're going to go to the right like this 5 times, and then we're going to go left 5 times. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Give yourself some time to not get dizzy. All right, ready? And now we're going to go the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Okay? Now let's do some shoulder shrugs or no me importas, right? Doesn't matter to me. We're going to do 10 of those. Okay? Actually, let's do 15. Let's do 15 of those. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Good job, guys. All right, so now we're going to move to our backs, right? We're going to do 10 seconds backwards, and then we're going to touch our toes for 10 seconds, and then we're going to do 10 seconds to each leg, okay? You're going to spread them out, and you're going to go one leg and then 2 legs, okay? All right, so let's do the back. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job, okay? And now we're going to touch our toes. Ready? 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're going to go to each foot. Ready? And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. Very good. Shake everything out. Good job, guys. I hope you feel a little more relaxed and less tense around these parts, guys. Okay, so let's move on to our breathing for today. And this time, we're going to do balloon breathing. I know that some of you, or most of you, will know this breathing, okay? So, but if you don't, what you do is you interlock your fingers like that, put your hands on top of your head, and when we breathe, we're going to breathe in through our nose, and breathe out. Okay, it's like a balloon. So you breathe in, and breathe out. Okay, now you guys got it. We're going to do this 3 more times. So we're going to do 2 saying words out loud, and then the other we're just going to stay silent, okay? Ready? Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Okay, and last time. Very good, guys. Very, very good job. I hope you feel relaxed and a little more at peace. Okay, and so for birthday celebration today, we have Alejandro R. and Frankie. Okay, good job, guys. You guys are always great, and I hope that you have a great birthday today. So let's sing you guys some happy birthday today. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday to you. Hey, happy birthday, dear Alejandro Frankelina. Happy birthday to you. All right, good job, guys. Good job, okay? All right, so now we're going to do our commitments, okay? So our commitment for the week is to use good manners, okay? So like we've been saying, good manners mean that you have a smile on your face when someone's talking to you. You're making eye contact with them. You wave. You don't ignore people. You don't say rude things, right? You say excuse me. You say please. You say thank you, right? All of these things may mean or what it means to have good manners, okay? So we got to make sure that we're doing this every day because we want people to do it to us. So for us to not be hypocrites or anything like that, we would have to do it back to them, right? So let's just practice that, guys. Thumbs up if you're committed. I know I can't see you, but you can see me. And I want you to be committed, okay? So thumbs up if you are committed. All right. Okay, so today's forecast, as you guys may have seen, outside is very sunny and pretty hot. It's a good day to go into the pool and make sure that you are staying out of range of other people. But if you have your own pool or a private one, you can go in there and just enjoy the sun. Don't stay in the sun too long. Make sure you have sunblock on. And in other news, we have some lady named Jolene Hunt, who her husband lost his job back in November due to health issues. And then her daughter lost her job now due to the coronavirus making Panera shut down, and that's where she worked. So now the husband doesn't have a job, and the daughter doesn't have a job. So what does Jolene decide to do? Jolene, in the kindness of her own heart, decided to go and start handing out food to all of her friends and family and their friends and their families, so that way people can get food who might not be able to. So even though Jolene is the only one working and they only have one car in the family, she chose to go and help other people. So we should have that mindset, right? Maybe not necessarily as extreme as she is, because not everybody is able to do that. However, we all are able to have a kind heart of some sort. And so, that being the case, let's try and, have the same attitude that Jolene did. So, I hope you guys can do that. In other news, we also have, for some reason, people decided to go to a party titled the Coronavirus Party in Kentucky because they were trying to have fun. Now, having fun is great, but there are times when you should, try to stay safe and be cautious, right? So they went to the party and they thought it was going to be fun and fine, but it turns out that people are getting infected with this virus, okay, because they were so close to people. And so just make sure that you guys are, distancing yourselves from other people. Make sure you're washing your hands, right? Don't touch your face unless you have already washed your hands. But even then, try to stay clear of that. And so, just make sure you guys are doing that, okay? And then lastly, we have, for current events today, we have these YouTubers who have been buying tons of toilet paper and they're redistributing it or giving it out to so many other people who need it. And this is great because a lot of people really have not been able to get specific things like toilet paper because so many people are just buying it off the shelves. And so there are people who really actually need it and don't have it now. So what these YouTubers decided to do was to go and buy a ton of toilet paper that they could find, whether it was online or wherever they had it, and they're giving it to these people who need it. So again, let's try and aim at everything or look at everybody with a kind heart. And even though we may not want to do something at some point, it may be better for you than it is for them to actually be kind to them, right? So let's try and do that today and going forward in this time where we're so close to people or isolated with our families. Just try and do that, and extend a kind heart and a kind hand, okay? All right. And so now, with that being said, we're going to move into a time of meditation, okay? We're going to be meditating for a few minutes. I'm going to put something on really quickly, and you guys will listen to it, and we will try to relax, and you're going to listen to the words in the actual meditation, and just try to follow along and do what the person in the video is saying, and breathe how he's saying it, all this and that. Okay? So I will put it on, and then we will have meditation time, okay? I hate ads. Anyway.
Hi, I'm Andrew Johnson. Take some time now to make sure that you're sitting comfortably. Put your feet on the floor. Put your hands on your lap. Take a nice gentle deep breath in and out. And just allow your eyes to close. Just allow your eyes to gently close. Take your mind on a little journey. Down through your body. Down through your legs. Down into your feet. And become aware of the weight of your feet on the floor. And allow the muscles of your feet to relax. Now you can give them a squeeze and let go, or you can simply just imagine them softening and loosening. Whatever way you want to do it, the muscles of your feet are starting to go limp and soft and slack. Allow the feet to relax. Up now into the calves. Just doing the same thing once again. Relaxing the muscles in your calves. And up through your knees into the thighs. Letting your thigh muscles switch off. Allowing them to become limp and slack. Up now into the stomach. Releasing and relaxing your stomach muscles. Now the muscles of your chest. And all the way down your back. All the way down your sides. Limp and soft and slack and relaxed. Up into your neck now, letting the muscles around and behind your neck soften and loosen, limp and slack. And down into the shoulders. Imagine your shoulders dropping, softening, limp and slack. And follow the relaxation down. Down through your arms, relaxing. Down through the elbows. Down through the wrists. Down into the hands and fingers and thumbs. Limp and soft and slack and relaxed. Now loosen your jaw. Wiggle it from side to side. Relax your mouth and your tongue. Relax the cheeks and the little muscles around your eyes. You can even relax your forehead and your scalp. So from the top of your head right down to your fingertips, right down to your feet and toes. The muscles are soft and limp and slack. As your muscles relax, very soon now they're going to start feeling a little heavier. This heavy feeling starts when muscles begin to relax. So do a quick scan down across your body now and notice which part of your body is starting to feel a little more relaxed, a little heavier, a little heavier. Notice which part is becoming a little heavier, and welcome and increase that heaviness. Imagine it increasing. And now imagine your entire body becoming heavier, as if it's wanting to sink down deeper and deeper into the chair. Just let your body go, heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier. Now become aware of your breathing, in and out, in and out. Notice the flow in and down into your lungs, and back up and out. Notice the difference in temperature between the in-breath and the out-breath. And if it feels comfortable for you, if it feels natural, take your breathing a little deeper down within you, right down into the stomach. Let your stomach rise and fall as you breathe in and out. And notice how, as you breathe out, it's as if you're relaxing a little more. As if all the muscles in your body are loosening and relaxing just a little more as you breathe out. Spend a few moments now allowing each out-breath to take you a little deeper and deeper relaxed. In a few moments, you'll hear me count down from 10 to 1. And with each descending number between 10 and 1, just allow yourself to relax a little more. Maybe even relaxing 1/10 deeper with each slow descending number. Each descending number helps you to drift a little deeper, a little heavier, a little more comfortable too.
Hey guys, hope you're all staying safe and healthy. I'm here for another virtual art lesson. This is art lesson number 2 on Romero Britto. Before we get started, let's do some quick stretches to get our creative juices flowing. Stretch to your left. Stretch to your right. Stretch up and down, up and down. One more big one, up and down. Give yourself a big hug, squeeze. Take a deep breath in and relax. All right, way to go, guys. Let's dive in right into our lesson. Okay, our objectives for today are to learn about Romero Britto, to learn about pop art and explore it through a living, relevant artist and artists that pioneered the movement, identify pieces created and inspired inspired by pop artists, identify pieces created by Romero Britto, and create artwork inspired by Romero Britto. So who is Romero Britto? Romero Britto is a self-taught artist that was born in Brazil. Britto's style is iconic and he's known for pieces that are bright, happy, and optimistic impressions of love. If you remember from lesson 1, we talked about warm and cool colors. So you can see through his piece that he used his warm colors up here, his oranges and yellows, and cool colors for the majority of the piece, your purples, your greens, your blues. Okay, Britto is identified as one of the top living pop artists today. If I'm not mistaken, I think you guys went to this museum here in Miami with the CBE group, so that's pretty neat that you guys were able to see his work in person. Okay, so getting to know Britto. We're going to watch this quick video so you guys can get to know him a little bit better.
As a boy, growing up in Brazil, Romero Britto had a big dream. He wanted to be a diplomat. He wanted to see the world. It didn't take long for Romero to realize his ticket to the world would be through his art. One of 9 children, and untitled, there were no art supplies. So with scraps of paper and whatever paper you could find, Romero's talents began to emerge, painting at every chance. Soon he would create himself the first Romero Britto. Welcome a still unknown artist, and it's in Miami where Romero's career took off. Romero's vibrant, bold, and colorful art in South Florida were made for one another, and soon everyone learned his name and his signature painting style. Actually brought Mission Romero for its campaign, putting him in the same category as the great Andy Warhol. The success that followed was the stuff of Hollywood movies. An artist who just months before was painting on the streets, kicked to big.
I've been very blessed because, I know that the arts is very weird and just happening on the street. The world that so many people are so things, but the arts is very like it's not like any other person. So I've been very lucky and blessed to have this here. It's been a great time because a lot of times an artist can have an amazing time, but open possibilities, and all the time to be like, all the because now, I think having artists this year, they're artists.
Everyone wanted a freedom from royalty to business state, business moguls, movie stars, sports stars, rock stars, and just about everyone in between. The radio sensation was sweeping first the United States and then exploding into a global brand. From monumental pyramids in London's Hyde Park and exhibit at the Carousel des Louvres, the Salon de la Société Nationale des Beaux-Arts. The first living artist to ever have a show at the Sumaya Museum in Mexico, Super Bowls, World Cups, Olympics, and on and on and on. Even going full circle back to his native Brazil, opened Carnival with a tribute to his career. charitable organizations, including serving on the board of Princess Trust International, an artist, an activist, always giving back, always inspiring. As a boy, growing up in Brazil, Romero Britto had a big dream. He wanted to be a diplomat. He wanted to see the world. Romero Britto certainly achieved that goal. His art has reached galleries and museums in more than 100 countries. Diplomacy through art, and it colors the world. Inspiring art lovers, collectors, and sharing art always brings a smile to your face.
I am very excited about life. I want to every day, whatever else with my art. I can create things that makes me happy, and I can share with people, and that makes me get vibes with people. I'm excited about waking up in the morning and come to the studio, create paintings, share my everyday, my art, people. I love what I do, and I definitely want to make the best, of everything. I definitely want to bring a smile to the face every day, and get people to a hope and happiness, and people can get inspired.
Alright, so now you guys get a better idea of who he is, what his style of art, and maybe when you're out in the community you can spot different paintings or sculptures that are inspired or created by Britto. Okay, so in the video I know you heard pop art a lot, so what exactly is pop art? Pop art is a style of art that began in the 1950s. Pop art is identified through its use of bold colors, symbolism, and the use of everyday items for inspiration. Pop art was started by artists using items such as soup can labels, celebrity images, comic strips, and other bold images to create their pieces. So Britto was demonstrating in the video how many celebrities and cities requested work by him. In this one, you're going to see his use of patterns, bold colors. Okay, who are other famous pop artists? Some artists who pioneered the pop artist movement or are famous for their style of pop art are Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, Sarah Pope, Jasper Jones, and Jim Dine. So in the next few slides, we're going to see samples of their work, and you're going to see the similarities and differences between the different artists and the common themes. Okay, so this piece is inspired or created by Andy Warhol. You're going to see the same pattern that Britto uses, a lot of shapes. Here you have circles and a lot of bold colors, and again you have your use of your warm colors here and your cool colors in the back. Again, that was Andy Warhol. Next we have Keith Haring. Okay, so you're going to see again the use of your bold colors, your warm colors back here, and your cool colors in the back. A lot of you might notice or remember this specific logo. This is the Best Buddies logo, so you see that a lot, and that was actually designed by Keith Haring. Okay, this was done by Sarah Pope. Again, look at the use of the bold colors. This next piece was done by Jasper Jones. Again, you see a lot of primary colors going on in this one. You have your reds, your yellows, and your blues. Okay, Jasper Jones. Okay, this piece was created or inspired by Jim Dine. Okay, I picked this particular piece because it had some meaning for me. It has the two hearts, like our WOW logo. They're not together, but it's the symbolism behind it. Okay, and again, you see the use of the bold color. So that's the common theme between all of the pop artists. Okay, so it's time for our quiz. In the next few slides, I'm going to display pieces by the different pop artists that we've talked about, and then we're going to try to see if you can match them. Okay, so who created or inspired this piece? I'm going to give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll reveal the answer. Alright, let's check on that answer. Okay, if you answered Jasper Jones, you're correct. Next one, who created or inspired this piece? Take a minute and then we'll reveal the answer. Alright, time to reveal the answer. Let's see. Okay, if you answered Jim Dine, you're correct. Next one, who created or inspired this piece? Take a minute and then we'll reveal the answer. Alright, let's check our answer. If you answered Romero Britto, you're correct. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So, who created or inspired this piece? Take a minute and then we'll reveal the answer. Okay, let's check out the answer. If you answered Keith Haring, you're correct. Okay, this next piece, who created or inspired it? Okay, take a minute again and then we'll reveal the answer. Okay, let's check out the answer. If you answered Sarah Pope, you're correct. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So who created or inspired this piece? Again, take a minute and then we'll reveal the answer. Okay, let's reveal the answer. If you answered Andy Warhol, you're correct. Okay, in the next few slides, we're going to explore pieces created and inspired by Romero Britto. Make sure to pay attention to the details, the patterns, the colors, and shapes in all of his pieces. Okay, so look in details. Here are the hearts, some flowers, and see how he breaks up his artwork into different segments. So when he starts off his pieces, he starts with a symbol, something that inspired him, and then after that he divides it up into different segments, and each segment has different patterns, different colors, and different shapes added onto them. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, here's another piece created by him. Take a minute to look at all the details. on to the next piece. Again, pay attention to the use of the bold colors, the symbolism, the patterns, shapes. Okay, let's look at this one. Again, same thing, look at the patterns in the backgrounds, the use of the bold colors. Okay, and if you notice in all those pieces, he uses a lot of positive and optimistic symbols. So his work is known for creating emotions of happiness and joy. So we're gonna try and keep that in mind. Okay, so he did this piece. Remember we talked about it earlier. He liked to do pieces for other famous people. So here he did Frida Kahlo. Okay, and again notice the bold colors, the shapes, and patterns in the background. Okay, we're gonna watch this short clip. Okay, this is a book that he created and has pictures. Okay, so you can see there that he caters to different age groups. So he's relevant in pretty much every age group, if you saw, and from different walks of life. He did for celebrities, he did for big companies, and even books for elementary schools, preschools. So his work does cater to everyone and brings about, like I said, those emotions of happiness, joy, positive energy. Okay, so now that we're familiar with Britto's style and work, let's use our imagination and creativity and the knowledge that we just gained to create beautiful artwork inspired by him. You're going to take the next 30 minutes to select and complete an activity of your choice. Okay, so I have 3 different activities for you guys to choose from. I'm going to go through each slide and explain the activity in a little bit more detail. Okay, your first option is a Romero Britto coloring page. So you're going to apply your knowledge and use bold and bright colors to fill in the different patterns, shapes, and segments on the worksheet. The materials for this activity are Romero Britto worksheets, crayons, markers, color pencils, or paint, whatever materials you have at home. So I have a link on the bottom that you guys can click on. You can have your caretakers, your family, whoever, print it out for you. We also have some at WOW for pickup. If you're going to do that, just make sure to call the WOW Center and they'll arrange that for you. So make sure to fill in the different spaces with your bold colors and bright colors. Okay, that was activity 1. Activity 2 is a Romero Britto recreation. So you're going to apply your knowledge and your creativity to recreate this iconic Britto piece. So I chose this one because it has a lot of hearts that symbolize love, and they remind me of our WOW logo. So since we're all missing our WOW family, we're going to try to incorporate hearts into our piece. Okay, so make sure you start off by sketching the hearts first. So remember, you do the symbolism first, and then you draw your lines to divide it up into segments, and then your last step will be to add your shapes and patterns. So make sure again to use bold and bright colors, fill in the different patterns, shapes, and segments on your piece. So for this activity, the materials are paper, pencil, crayons, markers, color pencils, or paint. Again, whatever you have on hand at home. Okay, and your last activity, you're going to use your imagination. Apply your knowledge and your creativity to create your own unique Britto-inspired piece. Make sure to start off by sketching a symbol, something that means something to you. It can be a heart, flower, dog, fish, whatever you choose. And then you're going to draw on the lines, the shapes, and the patterns to divide your piece. Again, make sure to use your bold and bright colors to fill in the different patterns, shapes, and segments on your piece. Again, the materials for this activity are paper, pencil, crayons, markers, color pencils, paint, whatever you have at home. Okay, again, thank you for tuning in. Remember to have fun, get creative, and we'll see you next time. We wish you well, and we can't wait to see you. Okay, here are the resources that your family can access to print out or give you guys a little bit more ideas. Okay, be sure to send in any pictures, videos, whatever you like, showing us your art pieces. See you next time.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our new format of online education. I hope that you are doing a lot of hand washing, that you are maintaining a lot of sanitized fingers, that you are keeping a safe distance away from others, and that you are not leaving your homes for any unnecessary reasons. The reason we're doing all of this is so that we can all stay safe and so that we can all stay germ-free and corona-free. Having said that, welcome to your very first CBE remote classroom. Remote means that we are not face-to-face, we are away from one another, but it doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about you and that I am not wishing you well. So we're going to be continuing our lessons that we were doing before the coronavirus interrupted our lessons. And we're going to be celebrating Women's History Month through our CBE lessons for the rest of the month. A lot of you didn't get to, in fact, most of you didn't get to listen to our lesson on Florence Nightingale. I only had the opportunity to do the lesson once. So I'm going to share with you today my lesson on Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale was a very important part of the nursing community, and you know, today we are celebrating nurses and doctors and all health workers who are not staying home quarantined so that we can all be safe and we can all be taken care of. Florence Nightingale is really the person who is held responsible for revolutionizing or changing the role of nurses in the medical field. So Florence Nightingale was born in Florence, Italy. That is why her name was Florence. She was a part of a very wealthy family. They were merchants, which meant that they traded goods, they sold goods, and they imported goods. She worked in very wealthy circles, and her mother was what is called a socialite. That is somebody who basically socializes a lot. She went to parties. She expected Florence to be the same type of woman that she was. She expected Florence to be somebody who was happy marrying into money, marrying someone who was very wealthy, and she expected Florence to continue to live the same type of life that she had lived. Florence was not having it though. She was very strong-willed, and she and her mother butted heads quite a lot, especially because Florence was awkward in social situations. You know, when you are at a party sometimes and you don't know exactly how to behave, and you feel like maybe you say and you do the wrong things, well, that's how Florence was. Florence didn't feel comfortable just socializing. She didn't feel comfortable just going to parties, and she didn't feel comfortable just marrying someone to be wealthy and to live a certain lifestyle. Florence wanted to do a lot of good in the world. She was, as I said, very stubborn, and there are those who say, of reading history and learning about Florence, that she was not only determined to change her own role in her family's life, but eventually that determination became a determination to change the role of nurses in the healthcare industry. One of the things that Florence Nightingale's mom did not agree with was that Florence, rather than wanting to socialize, would spend a lot of her time catering to the poor and to the sick on her family's estates. That is something called philanthropy. Philanthropy means that you are giving of yourself and that you help others, that you maybe put others above yourself, as nurses often do, don't they? Nurses often will put themselves in situations where they might get sick in order to help other people, as we are seeing in the world right now. But Florence decided that that's what she wanted to do with her life. So she went to her parents, like most people do, and she told them, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to dedicate myself to being a nurse. Well, needless to say, her family was not pleased, and her parents forbade her from getting the medical training that she needed in order to become a nurse. They felt that her job should be to find a man of good social standing to marry, and they looked at nursing as menial labor. That means, something that was beneath them, something that a proper young lady wouldn't be doing. But again, Florence was a stubborn young lady, and she was going to find a way to do what she wanted to do, one way or the other. So in 1850, Florence Nightingale ended up becoming a nursing student against her parents' wishes. And she became a nursing student in Germany at a place called the Institution of Protestant Deaconesses. When she completed her nurse training, she then went to London in the 1850s, where she took a nursing job in Harley Street Hospital for ailing governesses. There, her superiors were so impressed with her that before too long, Florence was promoted to superintendent of the hospital. She also volunteered at Middlesex Hospital around this time, where she dealt with the cholera outbreak. And what Florence saw was that the unsanitary, and that's a word we all need to know now, unsanitary conditions were leading to the spread of cholera. Cholera is an illness not unlike what we're seeing today, and it was also an epidemic, and it was also very, very contagious. But as we now know, because we are sanitary, and that means that we stay clean, there are things that you can do to prevent the spread of diseases. So what's one of the things that we're doing to prevent the spread of the coronavirus? We're washing our hands a lot, right? Back then, that wasn't something that people did. Back then, that was a fairly new idea. And keeping the areas around the people who were sick was also a new idea. People were so afraid of catching cholera that a lot of times they maybe just left people on their own, or the people who were nursing to them were not aware that if they did simple things like wash their hands, keep the bed sheets clean, keep the surrounding areas sanitized with something as simple as soap and water, could make the difference between life and death and not spreading cholera any further than it has to. Well, this hospital where she was working had such unsanitary conditions, and of course, remember, Florence comes from a very wealthy family. They had a lot of servants. They didn't live in dirty conditions. They had people that were cleaning for them all the time. So she knew a bit about cleaning, not because she had done it herself, but because she enjoyed living in a clean environment. And so she starts to put these practices that she was raised with into action in her job. And they start to see a difference. They start to see that the patients that she's caring for have a higher survival rate. So she starts implementing. Remember, she's very stubborn and she's very bossy. So she starts implementing these simple measures everywhere she goes. Wash the floors, scrub them with soap and water, wash the sheets of the patients between patients. A lot of times, if a patient would pass away, another patient would take over the bed and there would be no washing of sheets done in between. Well, Florence made it her mission to have the cleanest hospitals be the hospitals where she was at. And that's exactly what she did. She urged the other nurses to help her in maintaining sanitary conditions. And what starts to happen? The patients start to survive. All of a sudden, they're starting to see that these sanitary conditions do make a difference. And then people start to notice that it is due to Florence's very stubborn desire to maintain a clean environment that a lot of these patients are surviving. In October of 1853, Florence learns that a war has broken out, the Crimean War, and thousands upon thousands of British soldiers are being sent to fight this war overseas. So the soldiers are sent to the Black Sea, and by 1854, no less than 18,000 soldiers had been admitted to military hospitals. Now, what is the problem? The problem is that they're not just being admitted because they're having injuries from fighting in this war. They're being admitted also because they're catching diseases, because the unsanitary, again that word, the unsanitary conditions that they are living under are making the spread of disease very, very, very dangerous. So Florence decides that if she's going to be helpful, and she has proven that her way of doing things is helpful in stopping the spread of disease, that she's going to go to Crimea and she's going to help all of these soldiers, 18,000 British soldiers, who are now in British hospitals. So what do you think Florence did when she got there? Well, the very first thing Florence does is she puts everyone to work. Just like I'm sure in your group homes or in your home right now, you're being put to work. I know at my house, I haven't stopped working since the coronavirus outbreak. I've put my kids to work helping me clean. We're on our hands and knees and we're scrubbing things down and we're making sure that the doorknobs are clean and we're making sure that the floors are clean as well. Well, that's exactly what Florence did. Florence went there and she got her workforce of nurses who were already there volunteering to scrub down the field hospitals, to scrub down the permanent hospitals, but also to maintain good hygiene in the tent hospitals, the field hospitals. And again, Florence was a young lady who had a lot of money, who could have just taken an easy road in life, and she decided she wanted to help others. So part of that helping others, guys, is that she doesn't rest. Once Florence is done with her daily tasks of nursing and maintaining proper order and maintaining proper cleanliness, she's going bed to bed at night with a lantern, checking on all of those soldiers that are suffering and that are sick, and making sure that they have what they need, that if their beds are dirty, that they get new fresh linens, that if the area around them isn't clean enough, that she gets someone in to clean it, that if they need a drink of water, that they've got it. that they're comfortable. And because she was such a comforting presence, they start calling Florence the lady with the lamp, because she's doing her rounds at night. When everybody else is resting, Florence is still working hard. At the time that Florence is doing this, it is unheard of for a woman to be working in what is called a field hospital. That is a hospital where there is conflict, or in a place of war. It's meant to be a temporary place where soldiers are. So at the time that Florence goes to Crimea, it was unheard of for young women to go to these places to be nurses, right? Florence doesn't come alone. Florence comes and she brings tons and tons of scrub brushes. She brings things to sanitize the area where the soldiers are being treated. She brings more things with her than she's got people to use. So what Florence does is she starts getting the patients that are the least sick to pitch in and to help maintain a clean environment. This also, of course, helps the patients who are themselves sick, maybe not as sick as other patients. By the end of the Crimean War, Florence, it is said, had lessened the amount of people dying by 2/3. That means that if 300 soldiers, for instance, are sick and they're in hospital, of those 300 soldiers where before most of them would have died, of those 300 soldiers, 200 of them now end up surviving thanks to the practices that Florence is putting in place. One of the other nicknames that they gave her was the Angel of Crimea, in addition to the Lady with the Lamp. One of the other important changes to nursing that Florence made was that she knew that it is very important to have healthy food when you are ill and you are fighting any sort of sickness or injury, right? So I'm sure right now your families are thinking about what you're eating in order to make sure that we stay healthy, right? Make sure we have a balanced diet of vegetables, the right grains, that we've got enough protein. That didn't exist back in the day. Soldiers on the field who were injured frequently had very little to eat. And when they did eat something, it wasn't necessarily something that was nutritionally balanced. There wasn't a lot of focus on vegetable eating. They might have had a piece of bread with water available to them. So Florence established what was called the invalid's kitchen. And an invalid is somebody who is sick. And what she did is she rotated those patients that were feeling better to get them to help make healthy meals to ensure that the other patients in the ward would recover. Another thing that she did as well is she wanted to make sure that patients were intellectually stimulated. That means that they continued to learn and they continued to grow, because she knew that if a patient just lay there with nothing to do, they would get bored, then they could maybe suffer from depression, and she didn't want that. She understood that healing for patients was more than just about the body. It was also about the mind. So she also instituted mobile libraries, areas for recreation where patients who were able to move to and from could participate in games together, could sit down and have a chat with one another if they were able to do so. And this was also part of why Florence's patients seemed to recover so well. She was looking after the whole of the patient, not just what was wrong with them at that moment. A lot of times back in the Victorian era, which is when Florence is from, the mid to late 1800s, so that's, 150 years ago, guys, more than. A lot of times patients would go into a hospital with something wrong with them and they would leave with another. Florence was determined that that wasn't going to be the case, that hospitals were not going to be places where people went to die, that hospitals were going to be places where people went to heal. Much to Florence's surprise, when she got home, she was met with a hero's welcome. Florence had been written about. People had been learning about her. The country was proud of her. And Queen Victoria, who until Queen Elizabeth II was the longest reigning queen of England and the United Kingdom, had awarded her the year prior $250,000, pounds, and she had also granted her a brooch, a beautiful engraved brooch, which became known as Nightingale's jewel. So what do you think Florence did with that money? Do you think that you would maybe spend that money on yourself? Maybe buy yourself a new house? Well, Florence didn't do that. Florence used that money to start her own training center for nurses. And this is why people say she's the one who revolutionized nursing. And by the way, not just nursing, the whole medical field. Because doctors learned also from Florence how to keep clean environments and how to maintain patients in a way that they would thrive, that they were going to live and have better lives. So Florence started a hospital, and a training center, and it was called St. Thomas's Hospital. And the nurses there would work, but they would also train to learn the practice of nursing as Florence saw it. So this was her grand vision, was to spread this new kind of nursing. Another interesting thing that's a side effect of Florence's hard work is that all of a sudden when she comes back to England, it's no longer unheard of for young ladies who grew up in wealthy households to want to be nurses. All of a sudden, Florence has made it quite cool to be a nurse. So now she's got multitudes of students who come from the same background she comes from, or similar backgrounds, who want to be helpful, who want to be active in spreading these healthy practices, and who want to be nurses to join Florence in her mission. Florence Nightingale ended up writing many articles, many how-to manuals on how to further this idea of nursing that she had. And the practices that nurses put into place today have a very firm foundation in Florence Nightingale's way of seeing nursing and what she saw nursing as. Like I told you, in 1860 she established St. Thomas's Hospital and the School for Nurses. Florence Nightingale didn't die until the year 1910. She continued to live her life devoted to the career of nursing, and she lived 50 more years in this practice. And by the time that she died, she was a well-known and revered hero. And if it wasn't for women like Florence Nightingale, today we wouldn't have the heroic nurses that we have. And certainly they wouldn't practice nursing the way that they do if it wasn't for somebody who thought ahead and who put together really everything about her upbringing in order to bring it to a new profession. So I would like you guys to think about what are things that we can do to help our group homes, to help our family homes that are like Florence Nightingale. How can we encourage people to be better, to think outside of the box? And how can we lead by example in times like these, in times like these that we're separated from one another? How can we help one another, even when we're far away from each other? I know that here at the WOW Center, we're trying very hard to be helpful. We're being helpful with one another. If any of our fellow instructors need help, we are there to offer it. And we're here for you as well. So if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be reaching out to you as well. All right, so now we're going to work on our assignment. I'm going to be sending you this assignment that I got off the internet, and it is Women in History, and it's all about Florence Nightingale. And here you're going to see a photo of Florence. There's Florence Nightingale right there as a young woman, and here she is as an older woman in 1860, around the time that St. Thomas's Hospital opened. And over here we see a picture of what hospitals looked like at the time of Florence Nightingale. It's pretty interesting. This is a hospital in Turkey in 1856. Down here there are some questions. So what I would like you to do is, I would like for you to either read this recap of Florence Nightingale's life, or have someone in your home, your group home or your home, help you read it out loud. And then we're going to answer a few questions. So I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to do that. And once you've answered your questions, I will come back and we are going to go over the questions together. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and read this with you, just to recap and refresh in your mind some of the information that we've gone over today. Now, this is an abridged history of Florence Nightingale. That means a shortened, something made shorter, abridged. History of Florence Nightingale. So everything that we talked about is not on here, but enough of it is. So let's have a read over it. Florence Nightingale was born in 1820 to a wealthy British family. She grew up with many luxuries. In 1837, Florence discovered that she had a calling to be a nurse. In 1844, she told her family that she wanted to be a nurse. Her family was very upset at the time, because that was not what wealthy British ladies did at the time. Florence was firm in her decision and began studying nursing. She traveled around Europe learning medicine and different ways to nurse. She began working at a hospital in 1853. The next year, there were reports that the wounded soldiers fighting in the Crimean War needed help. Florence gathered 38 volunteer women nurses and went to Turkey, where the war was being fought. She found that the hospital for the wounded soldiers needed food and equipment. She wrote letters, and soon the British government sent food, equipment, and a portable hospital. Florence and her nurses helped the wounded soldiers in Turkey. She was called the Lady with the Lamp because she would check on the soldiers at night while carrying a lamp. After the war, Florence was famous. She was able to start a school for nursing and wrote many books. She improved the way nurses were trained and the methods that they used. Florence died in 1910 at 90 years old. Can you believe it? She lived a long and rich life. She still inspires many people to become nurses. Now, the first question that you were asked on our worksheet is, what was Florence called? Do you remember what Florence was called? That's right. Florence was called the Lady with the Lamp. Another nickname that soldiers had for Florence was the Crimean Angel, because that's exactly how the soldiers saw her. They saw her as an angel who would bring them relief, who would bring them help, who was working day and night, often without rest herself, to make sure that they healed from their injuries. What was the war that Florence went to in Turkey? Do you remember what the name of the war was? That's right. The war was called the Crimean War. And there were, at the time that Florence got there, no less than 18,000 soldiers in hospital. That means that there was a lot of sick and wounded soldiers that needed Florence's help. Who did Florence take with her to Turkey? That's something I didn't talk about a lot in my lesson. I talked mostly about what Florence took with her to Turkey. But as we learned from this sheet, Florence took some pretty good helpers with her to Turkey. Do you remember who she took with her? That's right. Florence took 38 nurses with her to Turkey. And probably because Florence came from a wealthy family, she had connections, so she was able to write to the British government and request that they send enough food, that they sent supplies, that they sent like things to build a hospital, essentially, in Turkey, so that Florence could do her hard work. But no one was going to do that work for her. Florence needed those 38 nurses to help her out, and she wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. Florence was frequently seen by others getting in there and doing the dirty work, right? Sometimes when things need to get done, we all need to pitch in. I'm sure we're all learning that right now, right? Especially since we're all at home and we're doing that social distancing thing. We are all learning that in order for things to be okay, we all need to pitch in. So I want you guys to pitch in like Florence Nightingale did. And another question is, where was Florence born? Do you remember where Florence was born? That's right. Florence was born in Florence, Italy. And do you remember what year Florence was born in? Remember, she died in 1910 at the age of 90 years old. So yes, correct. Florence was born in the year 1820. Now we are in the year 2020. So that means Florence was born 200 years ago. So she's a wonderful person to be celebrating right now as we celebrate Women's History Month, but also as we celebrate nurses and people in the medical field who are going out there every day to help us, right? So remember, guys, before I sign out, I want to remind you, please do not forget to do a very thorough hand washing. I believe Barbara's going to be doing a lesson on hand washing, and I would love to get some feedback from you about how you enjoyed your lesson, maybe about what you learned, and also about what you're doing to stay safe. What practices that maybe Florence Nightingale helped us learn about are you putting into practice? Have a good one. Bye. Stay safe. So, I have a story here. It's a really good book that Barbara loaned me. Barbara Walk. It's called Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls, and it's 100 Tales of Extraordinary Women. And for those of you ladies who want to learn about some other powerful female historical figures, this is a really good book. I'm sure you can order it online. A lot of places like Amazon are doing quick delivery now, especially during this corona outbreak. So I thought, thumbing through this, guess what I found? I found a chapter on Miss Florence Nightingale. So I'm going to share that with you guys as a part of our lesson for the day. All right, so this is a painting of Florence Nightingale, of what she looked like in her later years. I showed you guys that picture of what she looked like when she was young, and by standards of the Victorian age, she would have been considered very beautiful. And that was part of her mom's issue with her wanting to go out and become a nurse. She had this daughter that was beautiful and attractive to wealthy men of the time, and she was choosing to become a nurse. But that was her choice, right? Like we always tell you guys, you've got your choices. Use your big voice. That's what she did. So, Florence Nightingale, nurse. Once upon a time, a baby was born to an English couple traveling in Italy. They decided to name their daughter after the beautiful city where she was born. So they called her Florence. Florence loved traveling. She loved math and science, and she loved collecting information. Whenever she traveled to a new place, she would note down how many people lived there, how many hospitals there were, and how big the city was. She loved numbers. Florence studied nursing and became so good at it that the government sent her to manage a hospital for injured soldiers in Turkey. As soon as she arrived, Florence started collecting and examining all the data she could find. She discovered that most of the soldiers died not because of their wounds, but because of infections and diseases that they contracted in the hospital. The first requirement in a hospital is that it should not do the sick, that it should do the sick no harm, she said. She made sure that everyone working there washed their hands frequently and kept everything clean. At night, she carried a lamp as she made her rounds, talking to her patients and giving them hope. Thanks to her, many more soldiers made it home safely, and she became known as the Lady with the Lamp. Now, we're hearing in that story a lot of familiar things, right? So we're hearing how she would take data everywhere she went. She would find out how many hospitals there were. She would find out how many people there were in the towns where she was. That is something very important to us today. If you watch the news, and I hope that you are, those of you especially whose goal is to work on a current affair, it's very important to be aware of certain numbers. I know that a lot of people are getting a little bit focused on how many cases of coronavirus there are, how many people are surviving it, how many people are not doing well. This is something that Florence was always very aware of because she was in the medical field. So she was always trying to figure out how many hospitals would you need for how many people. And that's something that's very relevant to us today, right? If you watch the news, you'll see a lot of people on the news talking about how many hospital beds do we need? How many hospitals do we need, right? Another thing that's relevant to us today is Florence Nightingale's emphasis on hand washing. So, as part of your next assignment for the next 10 minutes, I would like you to find one of your friends, whether it be a relative at home or a friend in a group home or a staff member, and I would like you to pull them aside and I would like you to teach them how to wash their hands. the way that you've learned to wash your hands here at the WOW Center. Remember, we're going to be doing front, we're going to be doing back, and remember, like I told you, to sing the happy birthday song 2 times while you're washing your hands to make sure that you've washed them long enough. Now, go on and be like Florence Nightingale and spread what you know so that we can all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.
Hi everyone, welcome to one of your CBE lessons. As your job coach, I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about some professionalism skills that you might need in the future, and especially right now that we are transitioning to a fully online WOW Center. And so I hope you guys are safe. I know that we're all staying home to do social distancing to make sure nobody else gets sick. So I hope that you guys are okay and that you're taking advantage of all this free time with your family and maybe sleeping in a little bit more. But yeah, so I'm really excited to start some classes with you. Today, because we're doing virtual learning, I'm going to be talking to you guys about phone etiquette. You'll be getting phone calls, or your parents or your guardians will be getting phone calls about your classes so we can do your goals. And it's really important for all of us to remember some basic phone etiquette skills, because sometimes you guys might be the ones taking the phone calls, okay? And if you eventually get a job, which hopefully, as my job is to find something for you, your boss will one day send you a text message or they'll call you. And so us being able to know how to use the phones appropriately is really, really important. So let me show you guys a phone. This is my phone. It is an iPhone. So I'm going to teach you some basic things about how to use the iPhone. So when you unlock it, this one has my face as an unlocking method. But when you're going to text someone, there's a button that looks like this. It's like a little thought bubble. That's where you're going to press to text someone. If you need to call someone, there's a little green button that has a phone. So you press the phone and you can dial the number. I know that we always talk about some really important phone numbers. It's important to know how to call 911, how to call APD if you have an emergency, or even just to call your social worker or your support coordinator. Those are all numbers that you can even save as a contact. So when you write the number, I'm going to write the WOW Center. There's a button here to put add number. Create new contact, and you can type in the information. So that's a quick way for you to have this a phone number on hand. And these are some of the basic things you'll need to do on your phone, especially when we're doing virtual learning. Another thing you need to remember is to use the internet. So for a lot of you, that'll be Safari. And when we have a new website that we want to search up, we're going to type it up right here. And depending on what the website is, that's how you know what you're gonna look up. So this is an iPhone. Now, we don't all have iPhones. Some of us have Android, some of us have different phones, and some of us have house phones. So the purpose of this house phone is it's usually just directly here at home. Some of them are connected to the wall, some of them aren't. And this is a little bit simpler. Here on this phone, if I want to call someone, oh, it's out of battery. Well, if I want to call someone, I'm going to press talk, and I'm going to dial the number. And then that's all you can do on this phone. You can leave voicemails, but you can't Google, and you can't text here either. So that's some basic information on how to use a phone. But more so than that, because I'm sure all of you guys know how to use a phone, this was kind of just like a quick review in case there's anything we weren't sure of.
what today's lesson is mostly going to be focused on is professionalism, basic technology, which we talked about here, some problem-solving skills, and what I think is really important also, job and community skills. Because again, this is CBE, and as a job coach, working in one of these CBE classes, if you guys don't have a job, you still go out into the community and you go to the mall, you go shopping, or there are several things that you guys do with CBE that even if you don't have a job, it's important to have phone etiquette, because this etiquette that you use over the phone is also useful everywhere. It's important when you go to the store and you're buying something. You also need to be just as respectful and nice to the person that you're buying something as you would when you're on the phone with them. So these are skills that you can use for everything. So let's see. I have this PowerPoint for you guys that you can open up. And I know you can't see it right now on my screen, but I'm just going to take you through some of the slides. When you click open, you're going to go to the tab that says slideshow, and you're going to press play from start. So when you play from start, it's going to say making and answering phone calls. So making and answering phone calls. Phones help us talk to each other. You're going to click next with the keyboard. It is good to know how to make phone calls. Next. Can you make a phone call? Do you guys know how to make phone calls? I know we talk about it, but do you guys ever make phone calls on your own? Next. First, you need to find the phone number. So let's say we're going to call the WOW Center. So I'm going to find the phone number. Here it is. In your phone contacts, online, or in a phone book. So we can look through our phone contacts, which is what we talked about earlier. If you don't know the phone number, you can Google the phone, and you can find that online somewhere. Or you can look in a phone book. I know a lot of you guys don't have phone books. Most people don't use that anymore, so that's okay. But it's still important to know what that is. You dial the phone number, so we type it in. And then after dialing the phone number, when someone answers, what do you say? You can say hello, you can say your name, and it's really important to tell them why you're calling so they know how to help you. What happens if nobody answers? Well, you can leave them a voicemail message, which after it beeps, you just say what you need and you can hang up. You can send them a text message, or you can call them back later. Can you answer a phone call? When you answer, you can say, so we can say hello. How are you? You can ask them how they are, how they're doing. Sometimes if it's a friend, you say, what's up? Now, if you're calling your boss, for example, do you say what's up? Or would you say, how are you? So for a boss, it's probably better that you say, how are you? You wouldn't really want to say what's up if it's your boss or maybe your teacher. It's important to remain respectful. And so you can say, how are you? Or good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time of the day. So it's important to remember to always have good manners when you're talking on the phone. What does that mean? When we have good manners, that means that we need to be respectful of them. We need to speak very clearly so they can understand what we're saying. We're not supposed to mumble, because if you mumble, oh my God, how are you doing? I'm really excited to start this virtual class, right? It's not really easy to understand. You need to speak very clearly, because on the phone, sometimes it's a little hard, especially if it's loud wherever you are. So it's really important that we speak clearly. That way the phone call can be successful. So let's see what else. We need to be polite. So like we said, we say good morning, hello, how are you, goodbye. When it's a friend, you can say, hey, what's up? But when it's a boss or someone else that you don't know, you can say hi, good morning, or hi, good afternoon. So it's always important to have good manners when you're talking on the phone. But what else should we remember? When you're making and answering phone calls, it's really important that we don't make phone calls too early in the day or too late at night. If somebody calls you when you're asleep and they wake you up, does that make you happy? Or is that kind of annoying? You kind of wish they had waited until you woke up so that you can answer when you're awake. So it's really important that when we call someone, we probably shouldn't call them before 9 in the morning or before 8. Anything before that is a little bit early. And when we're making phone calls at night, we probably shouldn't call anyone after about 5 or 6 o'clock if it's your teacher. If it's your friend, maybe, and you know that they're awake, maybe you can call them at 7 o'clock, at 8 o'clock. But once it gets later at night, you probably shouldn't call them because people go to bed. So when it's your teacher or when you're calling a store, probably after 6 o'clock, you should not be calling them. But in the morning or in the daytime, like you can call them at noon or at 1 o'clock, at lunchtime, at 10. Those are all good times to call someone. Okay, I'm going to move on. So another important thing about when you're calling someone is that you shouldn't call them too many times. Let's say you call someone once at 10 in the morning and they don't answer. Maybe they're doing something. Maybe they are driving and they couldn't pick up the phone. Maybe they are in a meeting and they can't answer right now. Or maybe you call them at 9:30 and they're in bed. So it's really important that if we call someone once and they don't answer, let them get a chance to give you a call back. They might not call you right away. It might take an hour or two or more. But it's important that we give them their time because they're also very busy, just like we are. And so when we call someone, we call them once. If they never call you back and it's the whole day and the next day you wake up and they still haven't called you, then maybe you can call them again. Wait a little bit longer and see if they call you, and if they don't call you by the next day, then you can give them another call. If it's an emergency and you really, really need to talk to them, then you can call them again. And again, when you call them, just give them a chance to answer. Don't call them back to back. Don't call them once, twice, 3 times. Just let them get a chance to their phone because maybe they're in the shower, maybe they're just not available. So again, very important to give them a chance to get to the phone. All right, so let's see what else. Can you send someone pictures? So if you're texting someone, is it appropriate to send them a picture? If it's a friend and you're sending them pictures of your dog or of your lunch, to us, it's okay sometimes. We need to be respectful of, you don't want to overwhelm them or send them too many pictures of everything you're doing all day. But at the same time, if they ask you what you're doing and you want to send them a picture of you riding a bike, that's okay. But it's with a friend. And you should only send them things that are appropriate, things like your food, your day, what you're doing outside, things like that. Now, if it's your teacher or your boss, should we be sending them pictures of our dogs in the middle of the morning or at night or any time in the day? Is that okay? Yeah, no, so we should probably not send pictures to our teachers or our boss, because it's also, like what we said earlier, just maintaining that professionalism. If your boss tells you, hey, can you send me a picture of your work? I want to see if you're almost done. Okay, if they ask you for a picture of something, that's fine. But if your boss asks you how you're doing, or if you're almost at work yet because your STS is late, they want to know where you are, you probably shouldn't send them a picture of your dog or a selfie, you know? So same thing goes for your teachers. You should not be sending them selfies or pictures of your dog. The phone number that you have to your teachers or your boss, or even some family members, you use it when you need it, but we won't be sending them text messages and pictures throughout the day. So we talked about speaking very clearly on the phone, because it's really hard to hear if they're mumbling like this. You can't hear them. You're not going to get anything done if you can't hear the person. So we're going to speak very clearly. Also important that when we pick up the phone, we say hello or goodbye when we hang up. And also give someone the chance to speak on the phone. So if you're talking to them and you're like, hey, what's up? So I was wondering if you wanted to go outside to play, but also I don't know if I'm going to have time because I have to do homework, and so how are you doing? Yeah, I'm really good. I watched this cool TV show. That's a lot. How are you going to talk to someone on the phone if you don't give them a chance to answer? So if you call someone, slow down, say hi, how are you? Give them a chance to answer you, and then you guys can go back and forth. But don't talk so much that they can never get a word in, because for a phone call, you both need to be communicating. And we're going to use proper language when we're on the phone with people. What does that mean? So aside from knowing when to say certain things, like we don't say, hey, what's up, dude, to your teacher, we also know that we need to use appropriate language. That means we can't be using bad words when we're on the phone, or when we're talking to teachers or other staff, or when we're going to a store, we shouldn't say bad words to them. And we can call them by their first name. But it's just really important that we respect them, and that we speak properly to them, okay? It's different the way that you talk to your friend than the way that you talk to a teacher or a principal or the person at the store. So that's very, very important. So I'm going to go back here and take a look at the slideshow just a little bit more. I'm at one of the slides. At the end of the slides, there is an activity that you can work on. It's kind of just options. It gives you situations, and you can choose or talk about it with your family member or a companion, or maybe someone else who lives in your group home. You guys can discuss it together. And but one of the slides here says, choose pictures about making and answering phone calls. So there's a few pictures here, and let's review some of the things that we talked about. So this is slide 26, if you guys can see later. The first one is a sun. So what does that mean? It says early. What do we know about early phone calls? So we should not be making very early phone calls. How early is too early? So let me give you guys a second to think about that. How early is too early to make a phone call? Okay. So if it is before 9 in the morning, so I would say that you guys should wait just a little bit to make a phone call. Because even if somebody's awake, they might be brushing their teeth or they're having breakfast. So let's wait until after 9 a.m. to give someone a call, unless it's an emergency. So the next picture is a stick figure, and he says, good, and he looks like this. What does that mean? Let me give you guys a chance to think about what they're referring to, and then we can discuss it again. Okay, so looking at that picture, the stick figure, we don't really know exactly what that means, so it can be a lot of things. I think it means that we need to have good manners when we speak to people. What do you guys think it means? Maybe it means that we need to be cheerful on the phone and you know, speak clearly. So you guys can discuss that amongst yourselves and with your family and other people that live with you. But I think it means that we're going to have good manners and speak nicely to people on the phone. We're not going to yell at them or say mean things to them. Okay? So, phone book. What do you guys think that's about? Okay, so a phone book is something that people don't really use too much anymore. But sometimes when you go to stores or a phone booth, there would be a phone book there. So maybe in a gas station you might find a phone book, or at a hotel. And it basically just has the numbers for all the businesses in the area. And it's in alphabetical order, so you can find them with the name. So if you went to a phone book and you want to find the Wow Center, you would go and look for the name, the Wow Center, and then it would have our phone number. It might even have our address. Okay, but people don't really use that anymore. So what would we use today? So today we would use our contact list on our phones. We would use this contact list, and it has all the people that I have their phone number saved right here. So if I want to call one of them, I just click it, and then I can press call. So that's usually what people will use today. What do you do if you don't know the phone number? So if you don't know the phone number, you can Google. We talked a little bit on how to use Google earlier. You can ask someone else. And yeah, so most importantly, I think if you don't know the phone number, Google has taken over phone books. So if you don't have that information, you can just quickly Google the name of the person or the name of the store or the school, and you can find that information online. So the next picture says phone number. What is that referring to? So the phone number, that looks like the picture of when we were dialing a phone number. It's just referring to how can we dial. So we go to the little phone button right here. We go to keypad, it looks like this down here. And we dial the number. Depending on what it is, you just dial the numbers. On a phone like this, it looks a little different. You would click talk or start and dial the numbers. And when it's done, you can just go ahead. The next picture, it is a picture of a phone, and it looks like it has a little envelope, and it says voicemail. Do you guys know what that's referring to? So a voicemail is something that is an audio recording of your message, kind of like a text message, but something they can listen to. That when someone doesn't pick up the phone, you speak it into here, and then they can listen to it later. So it saves the message. And so if I call my friend and she doesn't answer, and the phone says, beep, this person's not available right now, please leave a message after the tone. If you hear that, it's gonna go beep, and then you're gonna say, hi, how are you doing? I miss you, please give me a call back and we can talk. I wanted to hang out. Okay, bye. And you hang up, and that message will send to your friend. Now, if it's a boss and you get that voice and you need to leave a voicemail, your teacher is going to say, please leave a message after this tone. Beep. Hi, good morning. I just wanted to speak to you about the assignment. If you get a chance, can you please give me a call back at my phone number? It's 305-247-2777. I look forward to speaking to you. Bye-bye. Okay, so that's an example of how you can leave a voicemail to a friend or to someone who is a boss or a teacher. Okay, the last picture is an ambulance. Why do you think there's a picture of an ambulance when we're here talking about phones? What can you do with a phone that has to do with an ambulance? Well, with our phones, if we have a really big emergency, we can call 911. And sometimes, if somebody is hurt, they send an ambulance. So, if you call 911, you press 911, and it dials, and you can talk to the person there. You also need to be very clear when you're on the phone with 911, and it is only for emergencies. And you guys know, because we talk about that all the time for special topics, but only for emergencies. Okay? Let's move on. So, the last few slides, we'll talk about some stories about phone calls. And it's going to ask you, what is the story about? How do you answer the phone? What do you do if nobody answers? What should you remember when talking on the phone? And what is it important to know about this story? Okay? So I'm going to read the story, the 3 situations for you, and you guys can take a chance to think about it. And the last one is something that you can also you can write it out if you want, or you can just talk about it out loud with a friend or a family member. The first question is, what is this story about? I'm going to read the story. Making phone calls about dinosaurs and writing to pen pals. So what is this story about? The next one is, how do you answer the phone? Do you sing a song? Do you dance around the room? Or do you say hello? The next one is, what do you do if nobody answers? Do you walk away, hang up the phone, or do you leave a voicemail? The next one is, what should you remember when talking on the phone? Do you make a lot of noise? Ah! Should you be polite? Or do you just give the phone to someone else? Like your grandpa. The next one is, what is important to know about this story? You have a party when you get a new phone. You need to be in control when using the phone. And always make the person you talk to angry. Is that okay? The last slide has 5 situations that you can talk to the phone, someone you can talk to the phone. And how would you talk to this person on the phone? The people are grandma or grandpa. The next one is a friend. The next one is your teacher. The next one is Barney or any other character that you love from TV or a movie. This is just the example that's here on the slide. And the last one is a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So how do you talk to each and every single one of these people differently? Because the way that you talk to them, the way that you talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend is very different than the way you talk to a friend, or very different than the way you talk to a teacher. Okay? So these are some questions that you guys can go over later. Also, I want to encourage you guys to take a look at the phones that you have at home. because these are just the phones I have in my house. But maybe you have a different phone. And so I want you guys to play around with them and learn how to turn it on, learn how to dial a phone number, how to save a contact, or maybe even how to text someone. Okay? And just figure out how that works so that when the teachers call you for your virtual learning, you'll be ready. And also, guys, really, really important though, I guess something that I just want you guys to remember now that we're starting these new online classes is just that we are respectful on the phone, that we don't call over and over again, and that we don't call too early in the morning, and that we don't call too late at night. That's really, really, really important to remember. Okay? So the next 30 minutes is your chance to work on these activities and talk to your family members or other people that you live with about some of the things that we learned today, okay? Bye, guys. See you later.
Good morning, guys. Carlos here, and I can tell you, science, it's awesome. Hello, guys. Today we're gonna have our second class, and hope you enjoy your first class. And since we're going remotely and we're gonna be doing our classes through a video, I decided that today, for the first 15 minutes, we're gonna learn about video edition. If you have gone to the movies, I love movies, you see a lot of things that they cannot happen in the real life. However, you can see it in the movies. You can see people doing and having superpowers. That's really awesome. But it's not that that person is a superhero in real life. It's like you and me, okay? Complete normal person. But due to the magic of the edition, they can have real powers. So we'll learn about that today. The second half of the class, the next 15 minutes, we're gonna talk about money. But before we talk about money, let's start with our first topic, special effects. Those special effects are used during the editing of videos and movies to add more emotion to what we're seeing. Without a good editing or special effects, the movies are usually a bit boring. These movies are generally romantic movies or drama movies or basically almost every movie from the 90s. But film industry has made great progress, and today we can find effects in almost every movie. And yes, I'm talking about Avengers, one of the best movies ever made. Really good. Let's see what the special effects were like in the past, okay? Pay attention. Yep, believe it or not, these were the special effects in the past. Way in the past. They used to use many camera angles or visual effects in different ways, and also an endless number of complicated machines to make it appear that the protagonist of the movie was hanging from this clock. Remember the first image or the first part of the video? It seems that the guy was hanging from this clock high in the sky in a New York building, when in reality he was actually a few inches off the ground. But that's how special effects worked. They're supposed to do that, to make you believe things that are actually not there, but make the movies more great, like more excited. Would you like to live in that era of black and white cinema, like black and white movies? I can say my answer is no. I wouldn't like that. It's amazing, but not for me. However, we must recognize that they did incredible things with the limited resources that they have, guys. That's for sure. Now, it is a joy to know that the effects have improved a lot in our days, and that they are now easier and much more realistic. And when we talk about special effects, we must know two simple concepts that are VFX and CGI. Okay? VFX stands for visual effects, and CGI stands for computer generated imagery. Yes, I practice that a lot. Computer generated imagery. But what are these two things? Well, I think you will love the answer. Run the video.
Hello friends, hello. I'm here to talk about what is CGI. I'm here to talk about what is VFX. Excuse me. Shall I complete my sentence first? No, let me do it first.
VFX is short form of visual effects. Is a process in which a computer imaginary is created.
You know what?
Live show.
Hello friends, glad to see you again. Let's talk about what is VFX and CGI. Nowadays, these are buzzwords in film and entertainment fields, and we often get confused about what is the difference between VFX and CGI. Let's clear that now. Let's start with the basic question. So what is CGI? It is the acronym for computer generated imagery, and they are images created digitally using computer graphics. It can be a 2D or a 3D image. So before we go in detail, let's quickly see what is VFX. VFX or visual effects are a way of mixing real film shooting with the false or animated images. Let me explain. Okay. This is how I shoot myself. I have a green screen behind me. I'm on a live shot. Now I'm going to change my background. Going to bring a false background. But that's not computer generated image. Now I have a false background. In case I need to bring some animated characters into the scene, so what can I I think I have one. This is CGI animation in VFX. Most of the complex VFX are done with CGI. Whenever there arises a need for making some of the scenes that could not be captured using live shot, for reasons like they are expensive or dangerous stunts, or we need to have some imaginary characters into the scene, then VFX and CGI comes into picture hand in hand. These are created in post-production and made realistic to resemble and blend with the original footage. There are animations which are done completely with CGI. All the characters, environments, and every details you would see in the movies are computer generated. For example, movies like Ice Age, Kung Fu Panda, and Toy Story are completely CGI animated. Now that we have seen at high level about VFX and CGI, let's see the process in which these CGI animated characters are created. I'm going to explain the key steps in which a CGI animated character is created from scratch and brought to virtual reality. First step is modeling. Building 3D characters, environments, and properties related to any CGI animated movies is modeling. Generally, it is converted from a 2D reference image into 3D wireframe models. Once they are modeled, then come the sculpting. which means making sure the characters look good and as expected from all possible angles. Once they're modeled and sculpted, then comes a rigging. It is a process of designing how the character moves, placing the bone structure and proper joint movements for the character. This also includes the skin deformation and wrinkle as the character moves. Surface and texture. The process in which the character is given colors and textures to the skin and body to make them look realistic as per the character properties. For example, making a glass look so shiny or a metal look rusty, or to give a proper skin texture and color to the character. And especially how the light interacts with the surface of the created object or a character. Having said that, lighting, the key element which helps to blend the CG animated character with the live footage. The lighting of the CGI character should match the lighting direction and intensity of the live footage in which they are blended. That gives the realistic feel to the viewers. That's why physicality is the first and foremost the most important aspects of the performance in VFX. As the characters generally exist in a live action environment, the audience needs to believe the character's physicality. So the question is VFX and CGI different? Actually, when it comes to media and entertainment field, CGI is part of VFX. When VFX is used to generate images in post-production of a movie, the images might contain models and miniature or elements generated by a computer which are CGI. Though they are closely related, it is possible to create VFX without CGI as well. It is possible to create CGI outside of a VFX content. Hope you found the video useful, and if you wanted to say something, and if you like it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe.
Did you like it? I can tell you I loved it. I love special effects. Because of them, we have superheroes. We have dinosaurs. We have some kind of robots going around the streets and blowing out everything. We have really amazing movies. And not only that, we have also videos that for those of you who likes going to YouTube, I can tell you a lot of YouTube videos use special effects to make them more fun. So yeah, remember, special effects. Now, I'll give you 1 minute to get a paper, to get a pen or a pencil, because I have 2 questions for you, okay? So your time start now. 1 minute. Go get your paper, go get your pen, and get ready. Come back, guys, come back. Time for questions. Okay, so you ready? The 2 questions are, what is VFX? What is the meaning? And what is CGI? Remember, you can go back in the video and see the answer, okay? That is not a problem. What is VFX and what is CGI? You can answer now. Do you got the answer? Well, if you paid close attention, you saw the answers a few seconds ago. You can go back and see it again. CGI and VFX. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this part of the class. It's time to go to the second part of the class, which is money, okay? Get ready for it. And for this, I'll give you another minute to get an extra paper and keep your pen or pencil with you, okay? Because we're gonna do some exercise at the end of the class. Yes, we're gonna study some math today, mathematics. You like it? I love them. Sometimes. Go get a paper, guys. Money! Guys, what makes money so important? Well, I invite you to do a small experiment. Go to your favorite restaurant, it can be any restaurant, your favorite food, place your order, and when it's time for you to pay, tell the guy, I can't, and just leave. Or, even better, talk to the manager and tell the guy, hey, you know what, I don't have any money to pay, and ask him to see if we can let you go without paying. No, don't do it. It doesn't work. At least it didn't work for me. True story. I was kicked out of the place. No, of course it doesn't work that way, guys. You have to pay for your things. Okay? So why is money so important? Well, the money gives us the power to acquire things. We can purchase things using money. You can buy your clothes, you can buy your food, you can buy your shoes, you can buy gifts for your family. You can even buy things that you don't need, but that you still want. My Nintendo Switch. When it comes to money, we should know that it's generally easier to spend it than earn it. So my first advice for you today, guys, is that if you have some money, you should take care of it and spend it only on things that are necessary, especially these days, okay? And my second advice is save money. Always try to have some money saved for you for emergency situations. Now, what is the story behind the money? How do we have these bills and coins today? Well, turn up the volume, pay attention. I have a video ready for you to tell you the story behind the money. Let's go.
Have you ever thought about how strange money is? Small pieces of metal or paper, passed from person to person, traded for food or clothes or robotic vacuum cleaners. Today, we don't even need anything physical at all. As technology has improved, money has become a stream of ones and zeros, endlessly circling the earth. How did this happen? Let's find out as we discover the evolution of money. Thousands of years ago, before money existed, humans relied on a system of barter. If you were a farmer, leftover crops could be traded for clothes from the tailor or beer from the brewer. In ancient China, instead of breaking their backs carrying hundreds of items around with them, people began to carry small tokens that represented the items they wanted to trade. Eventually, these tokens were replaced with abstract circles that could represent any item. According to writings from the time, early Roman soldiers were paid in salt, which is where we get the word salary. The first coins we'd recognise today were issued in Lydia, now called Turkey, in about 600 BC. They were made of electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver, and made King Croesus extremely wealthy. Today, people still use the phrase rich as Croesus. Paper money was first developed by the Chinese in around 700 AD, just after they invented woodblock printing. They called it flying cash, as it had a tendency to be carried away by the wind. When Marco Polo visited China in the 1200s, he brought the idea of paper money back to Europe with him, where, at the time, the florin had become an international coin accepted all across the continent. When the British Empire colonised America, the government restricted the colonists from minting currency, so they wouldn't be able to declare independence. We now know that this was a flawless plan. Unperturbed, the colonists gathered any foreign currency they could get their hands on to use instead. Particularly popular was the large silver Spanish dollar, which was known as a piece of 8 because it was worth 8 reals. As it was made of silver, a soft metal, when someone needed change, you could literally cut it into pieces. Paper money wouldn't see widespread adoption in the West until the mid-1600s, when banks started issuing notes that promised to pay the bearer on demand a sum of gold. Merchants found it much simpler to just trade the notes with each other, rather than lugging around large amounts of unwieldy metal. During the American Civil War, both sides issued huge amounts of government-backed paper currency to fund the war as there wasn't enough gold. Union currency became known as greenbacks, thanks to the green ink printed on the reverse side. It's a colour we still associate with money today. In 1946, the world's first charge card, creatively named the Charge It, was introduced. It was limited compared to modern credit cards, but proved such a useful idea it would lead to the Bank Americard, now known as Visa, and MasterCard. Money finally entered the digital age in the 1980s with the introduction of automatic teller machines, or cash machines to me and you, personal identification numbers, and debit cards. As people began surfing the World Wide Web, electronic money services emerged, giving customers an alternative to traditional banks. In more recent times, a new phenomenon has evolved: cryptocurrency. You may know it better as Bitcoin. The type of currency is decentralized, meaning it is stored across the entire internet and is owned by no one. So, it seems we've come a long way from trading goats for wood. While they once dominated, banks are becoming increasingly less important to our daily finances. We started with a cashless society, and with the rise of chip and PIN and contactless payment, cash is on the decline. What does the future hold? Will we cease trading in physical money and go completely digital? Or will we come up with an even stranger way of buying the things we want?
Now that we know more about the history of the money, we must learn about the money of our country, which is United States of America. The money in our country, it's called the dollar, and it comes in different denominations. We have the bill of $1. Oh, it's upside down. No, it's right here. I'm sorry. $1. We have $5. We have $10. We have $20. We have $50, and we have $100. Now, we can make a lot of combinations with these bills in order for us to pay for what we're buying. Right now, I'm gonna put these combinations here on the screen so you can have it and you can copy those in your paper. Remember the paper and the pen that you need? I'll give you a time to copy those, and this is the exercise for today. In the next half hour, you will practice these combinations. Remember, 5 bills of $1, it's equal to $5, and so on and so on. You will have it here, guys. Have fun, and you can start now. this was the lesson for today. It was amazing to be with you again. In the next class, we're gonna keep working on these. Okay, so get ready and have a good day. Bye.
Hello guys, welcome to a segment of Special Topics. I'm Coach Mo, and this week we'll be discussing Week 4. Week 4 is all about privacy and rights. Do you know your privacy? Do you know your rights? Stay tuned and you will. So first question for you guys. Do you even know your rights? Do any of you know what your rights are? So I'll give you a second to sit back and think. Now we're going to go to the think tank. Let me think. Do I know what my rights are? When you go to the restroom, no one should interfere with you nor bother you while you're using the restroom. That is your privacy and that is your time. Is your privacy respected at the WOW Center? Is your privacy respected at home? Is your privacy respected at work? Well, if it isn't, you definitely should say something to someone. You have your caretakers or parents you can speak to. You also have staff, such as myself and many others, that if you have any problems or concern, more than welcome to let someone know and speak to us. You have the right to your own religion. Whatever that may be, whatever you choose and decide, that's your right. We all have a right to vote. Vote as well as communication. We all have our right to go out and vote for the next president, vote for our mayors, and we all have the right to communicate. Whether it's communicate with one another via email, phone, just communication, we all have rights to communicate and voice our opinions. Education and training. Right now you guys are being educated by Coach Mo about your rights. So you all have the right to education. Well, not all of you, but most of you have jobs. And a lot of you with jobs have to go through training. So all of you have the right to training as well. Number 5, you have the right for medical care. Everyone should be able to go to the dentist, go to the doctor, and just get checked out. Also the eye doctor, which is very important. We all have that right. Number 6, we have the right for community participation and social interaction. So you guys have the right to socialize amongst each other. Maybe not right now at this particular moment because of the whole corona thing. We're on a lockdown. So, but in the future when we're off of lockdown, you all have the right to community participation and social interaction with one another. Number 7, personal possessions. You all have the right to have your own personal possessions. A lot of you come to school with your own book bags and things like that, and that's your own personal possession that we cannot violate or take from you. So we all need our personal possessions. Central records. We all have the rights to our central records. Central records is pretty much the documentation in regards to yourself. So everything that's documented is within your central records. Everything that is documented for you is in central records. Number 9, physical exercise and recreational activities. We all have the right for physical exercise and recreation activities unless we have a doctor's note or unable to perform certain tasks as far as sports and things of that nature. But we all can all walk. That's considered exercise. And as far as recreational activities, we all have the right for those as well. We also have the rights for Number 10, free from abuse, neglect, chemical, and physical restraints. We all should be free of abuse. No one should abuse us. If someone do abuse you, you should make sure you say something to your companion, your group home, or one of your instructors, or your social workers. We should all be free from abuse, neglect, chemicals, and physical restraints. Number 11, minimum wage and not discriminate. So we all, for those of you who actually have a job, you should not be discriminated because of your abilities or disabilities for wage. Just because you may have a disability doesn't mean you should get any less from me that we're doing the same job. Also, we should be free from anybody to discriminate against us. No one should discriminate against you because you have a disability. What we say here, I mean, you guys know that disabilities are abilities. Do you know that you can give permission to others to see your records? Do you know that you can speak privately to staff about any problems or concern? Do you know where your records are located? For all of you that do not know, your records are kept in Rosie's old office. Dignity is being respected and honored, through other people. For example, I respect each and every one of you guys. I will never disrespect any one of you guys, and I will treat every one of you guys with respect. And that is a common thing you should do for others. And that's considered your dignity. Also, your privacy. We recently discussed your privacy. That's your private space or rights to have your own space. Humane care is to have sympathy and compassion for others. We all have compassion for one another. And if someone's going through a trying time, for instance, with the whole corona going on, if someone does have corona, we sympathize for them and we feel bad for them. That's our human nature. Number 12, we all have the right to humane discipline and services. Number 13, reporting grievances. We all have the right to report grievances. Number 14, reporting right violations. If anyone violate your rights, feel free to be vocal about it. Let someone know about it. Let your group home know about it. Let your caretaker, let your social worker know about it. Let your instructor know about it. Let someone know. Are your rights respected at WOW? Are your rights respected at home? Are your rights respected at work? Well, they should be. And if they're not, say something. Thank you for enjoying a segment of Special Topics. I really had an amazing time with you guys and look forward to seeing you again. Peace and love.